Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm speaks, Jared and Bob. Um, I want to start out with something that I think is just kind of awesome. I don't think there's any other way for me to put it. So yesterday, obviously, as we mentioned on the last episode, we're doing two tonight because I got to travel for work this week. Um, So, we did a whole last episode on the election and all that stuff. So, who knows who the president is when you're listening to this, if we even know yet. But outside of that, that'll be the only time we talk politics here, at least is all I'm planning on. Um, Yesterday, I watched the 2004 Red Sox documentary or docu-series, I guess, because you can't just have a documentary everything anymore. Everything has to be a series. Um, it's three 50 to 60-minute episodes on Netflix. Dude, it is absolutely incredible. Um, I cannot recommend it enough to anybody that was a sports fan that was growing up in Boston in the early 2000s. It was just so cool to watch, to go back through it. It was so well like edited and put together. Um, basically what they did was they started in the playoffs in 2003, right? And everyone knows what happened, right? They Red Sox make it to game 7 of the ALCS, and Aaron Boone hits the home run off of Tim Wakefield, season over, right? And like a little bit before that, they talk about how, you know, they put that team together, right? They backtrack a little bit and in 2003 and 2004, I was 11 and 12 years old, right? So I was peak baseball age, right? I played baseball at that age. Um, I loved the Red Sox, everything. Boston was such a Red Sox baseball town. Um, but there was a lot that I forgot, right? Because I was only 11 or 12 at the time. So I didn't realize that the Red Sox, right, when they got put up for sale and John Henry and Tom Werner bought the team, they came in and they were going to hire Billy Beane. They had him, it accepted an offer. Billy Beane was going to be the GM of the Red Sox. And then he realized that he didn't want to leave his family because they lived in Oakland, right? He was like, I don't want to move my family across the country with me, and I don't want to leave my family. So Billy Beane called John Henry and backed out and said, I can't be the GM of the Red Sox. And Theo Epstein was supposed to be the assistant GM. He was 28 years old. I completely forgot about that, how young he was. So when Billy Beane backed out, he told John Henry, you need to make Theo the GM. I think he's a great kid. He'll do awesome for you. Theo's your guy. So they fucking stuck with they stuck with Theo Epstein, the 28-year-old kid from Brookline, Massachusetts, right? Who was supposed to be the assistant GM. He gets the job. And everyone in Boston was pissed. Like the fan base was like, what are you doing? This kid's 28 years old. He doesn't fucking know shit. Like all this, like classic Boston stuff, right? Um, the hilarious part is the very opening scene of the docu-series. They pulled like some guy, Paulie from Winthrop or whatever. And he's like, yeah, the fucking Sox kid. They fucked my grandfather in 46. They fucked me in, 86. They got my father in 67, whatever year it was. Like all the years, he was like, it's just the Red Sox. It's what they did. And I was like, you couldn't have found a more Boston guy to do that opening line. Um, but they just ran through the whole story of that team and how Theo put together a team of guys that no one knew. There was no name recognition. It was kind of similar to Moneyball, where it was all based off of stats and sabermetrics and on base percentage. Theo's big thing going into that 2003 season was he wanted guys with high on base percentage. So that's when he signed Kevin Millar and who was the other guy they talked? Oh, Jeremy Giambi. And I mean, David Ortiz, I think, was the year before, but he had a high on base percentage. I think David Ortiz was 2002. But still, like they talked about when they brought all these guys in, like everyone was like, who is this? And I didn't realize there was huge controversy around Kevin Millar because he was on the Florida Marlins and the Marlins had traded his rights to a Japanese baseball team. They were cutting him and they were going to ship him to Japan. And Theo claimed him off waivers, which at the time was like a no-no. Like apparently a bunch of like GMs and people in the MLB were pissed at Theo for doing that because he was like, again, 28, 29 years old. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm building a team. He goes, I don't care that you're sending this guy to Japan. I want him. So they signed him. There was this whole big thing. It was nuts. And they talk about how in 2003, the team was just great. Like everyone became best friends. They hung out all the time. They always like, had great things together. And then in 2004, basically everything fell apart because that was the off season of, obviously, like I said, the Red Sox lost to the Yankees in game 7 with Aaron Boone hitting the home run off of Wakefield. And then going into 2004, both the Red Sox and the Yankees kind of had an arms race. And I again forgot that the Red Sox traded for A-Rod. They officially completed the trade. And A-Rod was supposed to come to Boston. Manny Ramirez and John Lester were going to go to the Chicago Cubs, I believe. And no, 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 no. Manny Ramirez and John Lester were going to go to the Texas Rangers. And then um, they were going to send Nomar somewhere else, right? Maybe they were going to send Nomar to the White Sox. I think, yeah, because they were going to send Nomar to the White Sox, and then they were going to get Maglio Ordonez and then someone else. So they were going to walk away with Alex Rodriguez, Maglio Ordonez, and a starting pitcher. I forget who the pitcher was, but he was pretty good at the time. But as a part of that deal, they had to renegotiate A-Rod's contract. And it was in that process that the MLBPA stepped in and put their foot down and said, no, we're not going to allow you to rework A-Rod's deal. So then it all fell apart. I had no idea. Well, I mean, I obviously knew at the time, but I completely forgot that the deal was done. Like A-Rod was coming to Boston, but because they had to like renegotiate his money, the Players Association was like, no, you're not allowed to do that. So the whole thing got scrapped. And then the Yankees swooped in and traded for him and got him.
So I went onto the Wikipedia to try to figure out what happened. This just shows you how strong the MLBPA is. They vetoed the deal because it called for a voluntary reduction in salary. So Alex Rodriguez was going to have to voluntarily take less money, and the MLBPA said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other sport, they would never like no one would give a fuck.
Right. Right. So, I mean, guys in the NFL do it all the time.
Yeah.
So then they like, obviously they talk about they signed Kurt Schilling, right? And they kind of get into the ins and outs of how that went because Schilling didn't really want to go to Boston, but Theo and Jed Hoyer showed up to his house on Thanksgiving, and it was like it was just a really cool story. And then they kind of get into how big of a mess 2004 was because Nomar was hurt, right? But also he was butthurt too because the team was going to trade him in the offseason. And Boston media, being Boston media, was consistently asking him, like, oh, do you feel any different? Like the team didn't want you type of thing. And he was just like, whatever, I don't care. Like, it is what it is. But then he had an Achilles injury that he was kind of battling through most of the first couple months of the season, and he wasn't playing any. He was basically on the Kawhi Leonard plan, right? He wouldn't play back-to-back games. Um, there was all this stuff going on in the media about how like what's he doing? He's soft type of deal. Um, and then it kind of came to a head in the Yankees series because that was one of the games was the Jeter running into the stands. So that was he dove headfirst to get a ball in the past the foul ball line, and then he dives into the stands and busts up his face and the whole thing. And then immediately they because they show the game footage after Jeter comes out of the stands, the camera cuts over to Nomar sitting on the bench because he wasn't playing that game because he played the night before. Right. And they were like, all of them, the narrative was Nomar soft. Look at the Yankees. They have Jeter. Nomar can't play in back-to-back games, like all this stuff. Like it was just kind of nuts. And it was also Tito. Like they tell the Terry Francona story. Grady Little is in it, right? Like they actually got Grady Little to sit down and like talk about the 2003 season and then obviously the stuff with Pedro. Um, it was just nuts, right? Like they go through the ins and outs of how Theo was basically like, "What the fuck am I doing?" Right? Like, what is going on? And then finally, when he decided to trade Nomar, right, and like the town went nuts. Like again, being 12 years old, like I'm not listening to sports radio every day, right? Like I'm in school, but the trade was not received well because they were like, you're getting rid of a superstar in Nomar, despite the fact that everyone was shitting on him for being soft. And they're like, what did you get in return? You got nothing. You got Orlando Cabrera, who can't hit, and Doug Minkiewicz, who is a good defensive first baseman, but also can't hit, right? And then they went out and they traded for Dave Roberts, right, at the deadline. They were like, who are all these guys? Like, because Theo was like, we need to get better on defense. It was like at one point, I think he said they had the second most errors in the major leagues through like the middle of June. And he was like, I made the decision then. He was like, we needed to get better on defense. He was like, we weren't going to win a World Series with the roster that we had. So he made the splash. He traded Nomar. He got Cabrera. Guys were kind of weird about it a little bit. Theo said he second guessed himself that night. He was like, what did I just do? There's the whole thing. And then it came together, obviously, and it all worked out and everyone knows how it ended. But then like one of the episodes spends, I think it was the third episode. It's the whole like hour and 20, like maybe the last 15 minutes is the actual World Series about the Cardinals series. But like an hour of the last episode is just the Yankees ALCS in '04, back to back, like showing game footage, getting the guys perspectives from each thing. Like they had Ortiz, Trot Nixon, um, Schilling sat down, Pedro, um, Kevin Millar was there. Trying to think of some of the other players they had that they got to sit for the documentary. Um, there was a ton, right? Veritek was there. Mirabelli, they got Doug Mirabelli to sit down. Like it was really cool. It was to the point where like they would play some of the game footage, and I'd be sitting on the edge of my seat, right? Like I'm fucking like sweating watching the game. Like this thing happened 20 years ago. right? Like I know the outcome, but just the way it was put together, again, I'm like on the edge of my seat watching this thing. And it was just so cool to go back to that time. Um, it was just, it's such a great documentary. Like I cannot recommend it enough to enough people. Again, if you were a sports fan and you were a Boston fan, you know, baseball, whatever, and you were under the age of 18, right, while all this was going on, like this is our childhood, right? I mean, we've talked a little bit about this before. You know, the Patriots had already won two Super Bowls, right? They were on their way to win a third. But Boston wasn't a football town. You know, Boston wasn't a football town until the Patriots blew up, right? Probably until they won their third Super Bowl and Tom Brady became Tom Brady, right? Like Boston was always a baseball town. It was the Red Sox rule the roost. Like just in general throughout the country, right? Baseball used to be the number one sport. It was the most popular. You know, everyone always had the love-hate relationship with the Red Sox, the curse of the Bambino, right? 86 years. Again, in 46, 67 and 86, right? There was one time in the 70s, maybe 78, and then 86 with Bill Buckner. I was like, there's just so much history there. And the city was the Red Sox, right? Like that was it. Um, it was really cool to take the 3 hours and to almost be back in 2004. Like I was telling Amy, like when they play some of these games, like I know exactly where I was when these games were going on, right? Like I was for the 2004 the ALCS and the World Series, like we would bounce back and forth between my house and Dave Lenardi's house, right? So like in when the Red Sox won the World Series in St. Louis, I was sitting in Dave's kitchen, right? And like my parents and his parents were going nuts. I think there were some other people there. It was just wild. Like it was one of those things like I remember how insanely happy my dad was when the Red Sox won the World Series, right? Because it was one of those things growing up in Boston, it was always the letdown. Hell, literally the year before in 2003, they made it all the way to the game 7 of the ALCS against the Yankees in extra innings. It was like the 12th to the 13th inning, right? And Tim Wakefield came in and Aaron fucking Boone hits the home run off of Wakefield. It was just year after year after year, decade after decade of disappointment and letdown. But it didn't matter because everyone loved the Red Sox. And again, just to remember like how happy people were when the Red Sox finally won was it was like reliving it in a way, right? Because it's not something that I'd gone back and rehashed until now, right? It like I said, it was like being transported back to that time. Um, and it was just so fucking cool. Like I said, I was sitting on the edge of my seat for some of the games. Like I had no idea again, I say I had no idea. I just forgot, right? That in 2004, the ALCS, when the Red Sox were playing the Yankees, obviously everyone knows they went down 3-0, right? And they came back. They were the first team ever in sports history to come back to win a series, being down 3-0. But game 4 went like 14 innings and it went until like 2 a.m. And then the next day they came back. That was, David Ortiz hits the home run. They win the game, whatever. Game 5 the next day went 12 innings, right? And that was the game that David Ortiz hit the blue hit to center field, drive in the winning run. That was the Dave Roberts game. I think right. Game 5 was Dave Roberts stole second base, right? And then David Ortiz hits the blooper into center field, and Roberts comes in to score, right? The go-ahead run, right? Like that was nuts, right? Because everyone was like, oh, they won game four, they won game five. Holy shit, they have a fucking chance. And then game six comes around. Um, I think they might have shellacked them in game six.
I forget which. So I remember because they got their asses blown out one
I
game.
think game two. Game two, they got
Yeah, it might have even been three. I don't remember. It might have even been three. So it was almost like, oh, they just went down 3-0 and they just got their ass absolutely
right,
fucking handed to them.
right.
Um, and then yes, they did blow the Yankees out. I just don't remember which game it was. I want to say I thought it was game seven. Game seven was 10-3 Boston.
Okay, yeah, that's the one it was. That was the one Johnny Damon hit two home runs. One of them was a grand slam.
Yeah, game six was 4-2. I just don't
Okay,
I mean I also didn't watch the documentary, so I don't off the top of my head, I don't remember all the details.
yeah,
Um I mean they scored four in the fourth and won 4-2.
yeah. Oh, Keith Folk sat for the documentary. He was talking about how because all those games went to extra innings and he pitched so many days in a row. I think there was a statistic where Keith Folk, who was the closer, threw 72 pitches over the course of like 36 hours or something like that, just because of way like day nights and how everything happened. And he goes in there, he said the you know the person behind the camera goes, "Did you ever tell Tito that you weren't going to be available for any of those games?" And Folk goes, "Fuck no." He goes, "I told Tito if you call me, I'm going out and I'm pitching." He goes, "I don't care." And there was one of the games where it got a little hairy. I think it might have been game five. Because it went so many extra innings. It got a little hairy because he was like, I didn't have my stuff. I struggled to get through guys, and I was like, I'm not going to be the fucking reason why we lose this thing. So he was like, I just got to get out of this inning, and he did. And then, obviously they went on and they won and all this stuff. But it's it was pretty cool to hear their own perspectives. Um, and the best part about it was it it was like a conversation, right? Because Theo was there, and he's like, yeah, man, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Or he's actually like talking and swearing and talking like a regular person, and, like all these guys. And Kevin Millar is going nuts and saying stuff while he's sitting for the camera. It was really cool. Again, like it was really cool. It was probably one of the best things that I've watched in a very long time. I am a documentary guy. I do like like just any kind of documentaries, right? Whether it's history or aliens or sports or whatever it is. Um, it was really, really, really awesome. I really enjoyed it. I think it's awesome. And I think Netflix did a fantastic job. Um, and I can't recommend it enough, right? I mean, by the end of it, I was crying, right? Because they were talking about Tim Wakefield, and like they have the camera on Jason Varitek, and they ask him about Wakefield because he just died last year, and Varitek is going on about Wake and this and that, and they have Mirabelli talking about that, and I'm just sitting there, and I started fucking crying because they're talking about like how much they love Tim Wakefield, and how much they miss him, and how good of friends they were, and all this stuff, and it was great, right? It had all the stuff, right? It had all the nostalgia, all the like sitting on the edge of your seat. Um, fuck, man, it's awesome. I might watch it again at some point. I might watch it on the plane out to California. Like that's how much I liked it.
Kayla watched it. I haven't watched it.
Did she give you any feedback on it? She probably didn't like it as much as I did.
No, she so I want to say she was a baseball guy back around that time. And beyond too, but she was like that was in her wheelhouse. I mean, again, so it's like it goes back to like her and I have not watched a baseball game. We have not gone to a baseball game. We have barely spoke baseball, but she knew all of that. And it's just like it was just different back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like I think I mean, obviously nationwide baseball has died and I don't know how you recoup it. I don't think that you do.
Yeah.
Um I don't know. I don't know what it would take. Like which is a different conversation because like I just remember when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, like I never watched SpongeBob when I was a kid, but I would watch Baseball Tonight.
Yeah.
like that was the
Yeah.
difference. But like um again, like I don't know how you recoup baseball at this point, but like yeah, man, it was just popular. Like those guys were fucking celebrities. And I don't know, maybe social media has fucking deterred that where it's like now there's less stars and more just regular people, or I don't know, maybe baseball could just be different too. Like I don't know anybody who's good.
Yeah.
Like Freddie Freeman just won. Well, I know Otani, but like Freddie Freeman just won World Series MVP, and he's like one of whatever stat that's won a regular MVP and a World Series MVP, and I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And if you asked me to pick him out of a line, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Yeah, I mean, like I know like the mega stars, right? Like I know Otani, I know Harper, and I know Trout. But like, dude, I couldn't even tell you the
I had
who
to
the
look. So,
I
I don't
couldn't
know.
tell you right now who the first baseman is on the Red Sox. I have no idea.
Okay, so this is another thing. I was going to get to this because I was going to say I think baseball's down nationwide. Baseball's definitely down here, and it's because of that fucking owner. He sucks,
Yeah.
and he has fucking absolutely ruined.
Yeah.
He has ruined the Red Sox,
Yep.
and it's like there is still a brand that you could sell to, promote, whatever, but like he just like he has no interest in creating competitive product.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just about numbers at this point and making money.
But this, I just don't, I don't, and I don't fucking get it. I don't understand how having a competitive product doesn't make you more money. Yes, you do need to spend more on payroll and staff and things like that. But how would the Red Sox getting into the World Series hunt again? How would that be bad?
Right.
I don't follow the logic.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, well,
this isn't
you have to pay more for the players. It's like bro, I actually saw this too. It was like so because like everyone was like, oh, Moneyball, 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 Moneyball. Like, wow, wow, Moneyball. They're like, the A's just got fucking moved out of Oakland, and the guy who fucking was Jonah Hill in the movie, I think it was Jonah Hill. I never saw
yeah.
Moneyball. They go, he's the one responsible for the Deshaun Watson trade. So how the fuck is Moneyball aging right now? Good?
Yeah.
Because not for nothing, those A's teams never fucking amounted to anything either. That's why I
Nope.
never understood the fucking Moneyball thing. Like, it never fucking occurred to anyone that like the A's were not a successful franchise. Like, am I like I never fucking got it.
They had like a 6 year window where they were good, right? But it was like that was with
Yeah, but
Eric
they were like,
Chavez and Barry Zito and Tim. I mean, their pitchers were nasty with Zito, Hudson, and Mark Mulder.
yeah,
Like that top three of that rotation was filthy.
yeah. But then they shipped those guys out, and then it was like
Right.
Rich Harden and Danny Herron, and like those guys were good too. But like you beeped your way out of it. You never amounted to any playoff success. You were in
Right.
it every year, and you never moved on. And now here you are, like your team's gone. And
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson is coming out as like fucking the worst move ever. Like that's what I mean is like this guy's a fucking jinx.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like
They
it's
never.
like someone will turn around and be like, oh, well, the Red Sox used that approach in '04. The Red Sox also had Johnny Damon,
Right.
Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, And all of those guys played well when it mattered.
Right. Yeah, Trot
Schilling.
Nixon, right? Trot Nixon was fucking nasty.
He
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 was,
was always here. Like that's the
yeah,
thing. He was always here.
he was,
But
yeah, he was drafted by the Red Sox, I think.
yeah, or if not, he was obtained early. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, so the pieces they got were good. Anyway, different topic. But like they're trying to cheap out now and be like, oh well, where's the value in it? No, dude, it's like you need fucking good players.
they've always
People would watch.
when they've won, they've been able to blend both approaches, right? They go out and like '04, right? You go out and you get the Kevin Millars and the Bill Millers and the Orlando Cabreras, right? And the Doug Mankiewicz. You get those guys. You play the money ball game. But you're able to do that because you went out and gave Kurt Schilling the bag, because you already had Pedro on the staff, because you already had David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez in house. It worked, right? In '07, you could go out and get, Mike Lowell, right? And all those guys and play your money ball, right? And do that. Edgar Renteria, right? Do the whole thing because you had Ortiz still, but then you also gave Josh Beckett the bag, right? So like you were able to blend,
Papelbon was cheap.
yeah, yeah, Papelbon was still cheap, right? Like you were able
Veritek had been there a million years.
to
Like
blend both, right? I think 13 was kind of the fluke year.
13 was probably the fluke year. Truth be told, I wasn't paying attention a lot
Yeah.
then.
I mean, that was Johnny
Obviously,
Gomes.
but like, or I think
It's
out of
like,
nowhere, Ortiz just got hot again.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was towards the end of his career, and then he just went on a fucking tear.
Yeah, because they blew up the marathon and Ortiz was like, "This is our fucking city." And then ever
Yeah.
since then, he just fucking lit it up. And then they won the World Series.
Was Lester still here?
He might have been. Yeah, I think so.
Because if he was still on the team, it's like, okay, so you had the pitcher. I'm just gonna rip through this quick. I mean, this is the thing. Like the team wasn't. So the team was like, it wasn't that bad. Like you had Pedroia. He was an MVP at one point.
Yeah, I mean, he was old by then, I think.
He was 29.
Okay, so he wasn't that
Um,
old yet. The end of his career kind of sucked because he was hurt all the fucking time. Was that 17, maybe? When did they
and
win again? Was it 17 or 15?
18.
18.
Um,
Because he was technically on the team in 18 still, but he wasn't playing.
yeah, so I mean, the like some of your batters, like Mike Napoli, fine player.
Yeah, Napoli was a money ball guy.
Yeah, Steven Drew was definitely a Moneyball guy because that guy fucking sucked.
Oh yeah.
Middlebrooks was a young player.
Hmm.
Gomes, yeah, I mean, Gomes was probably a Moneyball play, but like that just kind of worked. Ellsbury, Victorino, Ortiz, like that was kind of like who you started with.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Bogarts, you drafted him. He was nasty.
yeah, Bogarts was on the roster, Iglesias was on the roster, JBJ, Brock Holt, like those are all draft picks.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, Iglesias was second in rookie of the year that year.
Well, you
So then
also you went out and you gave John Lackey the bag.
you also had
Right.
Jake Peavy on the staff.
Right.
So that's the thing is like so you went out, you got PV, you had Lester, you went with Lackey. Dubront was a draft pick.
You paid Victorino.
Yeah, I don't know if you had to really pay him that much. And then you got lucky on Uehara. The guy got hot
Right.
and
Right.
he was like unbelievable. Craig Breslow, GM. But yeah, 38-year-old fucking Uehara being as good as he was. Like,
Right.
where the fuck did that come from?
Right.
And that's the other thing. I think Peavy was really good too for that year. I mean, like he
He was.
outperformed what most people thought he would be,
Yeah, I
which I
think
always liked Jake Peavy, but
PV was the fifth starter and he was playing like a two, right? Because you had
well, actually,
Lester
actually, so
Buckholz, Lackey.
Peavy only ended up playing like 5 games. Oh, he was 4-1, 10 games started. Oh, so I don't know what happened with him. I don't know if he got hurt or they added him late. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Um, but now I'm actually looking at the stats, not just like the roster. So it's like you had Lester, Lackey, Dempster. Those were all right. So you had
Maybe
Lester. You had
Dempster was the one that turned he was like the five starter that was playing lights out by the end of the season.
I mean, he started 29 games.
Yeah.
Um, Dubront was your player. Buckholz was your player. Then it's like in your the guys who played the what appears to be the most. The bullpen was like Miller, Breslow, Tazawa, Uehara, but you also had to go get some guys too.
Right.
The Peavies, the Hanrahans. Yeah. So I mean that was the thing with that team. Like, yeah, they had to make some signings, but they also had some guys. I don't know, just kind of worked out. Maybe 2013 was just a down year in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was Ortiz even still on the team in 2018?
Dude, 18 was Betts,
No,
Bogarts,
he was retired.
Bradley,
Yeah.
Benintendi. Like, dude, that team was
Devers.
stacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That team was stacked, and then what's his name?
Yeah.
Evaldi went crazy.
I'm looking at the roster right now.
I forget who
Yeah.
was pitching, but
They had David Price, Chris Sale, Eduardo Rodriguez, Nathan Evaldi, and Rick Porcello.
yeah, that team was stacked.
Yeah. That's nuts.
This thing, you had three Cy Young winners in your fucking
And
starting
Chris Sale
five.
was healthy that year. He made 27 starts. He had a 2.11 ERA.
Yeah, and Price decided to play like not a fucking loser.
Yeah. Yeah, he made 30 starts with a 3.58. Yeah, that was just the one year everything clicked.
Yeah, that team was nasty though, too. That's the
Yeah.
other piece.
Well, yeah, yeah.
We actually watched a little bit of those games. It's probably the last time I watched a baseball game.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I remember that. So, yeah, like I said, um, shout out to Netflix on crushing the '04 Red Sox docuseries. Let's see what else do I got here. Oh, so this is funny. This is just a random thing, but I was going to use it as a final thought, but I'll use something else. Um, I was in a meeting the other day with someone who is like one of our, a contractor that we have for some people out in California. So she's younger, right? She's probably in her like mid 20s at best, right? She's definitely not older than like 25, 26. And we're in a meeting and she's running in. She goes, "Yeah, so I just wanted to get through some things because I'll be OOO the rest of the week." And I was like, "What? What the fuck?" Like I know you don't engage in corporate speak or bullshit or any of that
No,
stuff.
I do not.
But so OOO means out of office, right? But like people have like an out of office reply, it's like a whole thing. It's like a texting thing, right? Like when you say OOO, you mean like out of office, right? Like, so like when you text someone, right? Like, IDK obviously is shorthand for I don't know. Like sometimes I'll text that to someone, but like when someone texts that to me, I don't read it as IDK. I read it as I don't know, right? If you're like, if I said, "Hey, who was the 15th president?" Right? And you were like IDK, right? I would read that as I don't know. I wouldn't be like, oh, IDK, letters. Like I would just, that's just my brain, right? You just read it out. We're in this meeting and out loud, she goes, I'll be OOO the rest of the week. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I immediately get a text from someone else who's on the call being like, what was that? And I go, yeah, did she just actually say like the three letters OOO? Like, but it's one of those again where we're just like, well, she's from California and she's probably like 24 years old, right? So like that's got to be just like how kids talk these days, apparently. I don't know. Like it's just a thing. But then someone else texted me too. So like eventually come to find out that like a bunch of people that were on this call all had the same like what the fuck moment or, WTF to be a little bit more apropos. Um, we're all just kind of like, what is going on? So basically like that's a long way of saying like don't fucking speak the way that you type or text.
It also
'Cause
only saves you one syllable.
right?
It is. I did. I sounded it out. It's one syllable.
Yeah.
One syllable to sound like an asshole.
Yeah. Seriously. Like you do sound like an asshole. So I don't know. It's just one of those, like I thought it was funny that it's again, it's one of those dumb corporate things, but also one of those like I don't know whether it's an age thing or like a California thing.
That's definitely an age thing because it's one of those things like not old or smart enough or experienced enough to realize that like you don't speak out acronyms.
Yeah, because again, if you asked me a question, right, and I didn't know the answer, I wouldn't say IDK. I'd be like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know anyone who would fucking do that.
Like you don't speak in acronyms, like you
Well,
said.
so that's the thing is like, no, you don't speak in acronyms. And if you're trying to shorten a word or a phrase, you just say, I'm going to be out next week.
Yeah.
Not I'm going to be oh. You sound like fucking Santa Claus.
Yeah. Santa Claus that stubbed
Yes,
his
next week I'll
toe.
be going down chimneys giving the children gifts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm off the rest of the week.
Yeah.
I'm out starting tomorrow.
That saves you
Right.
three
Like,
syllables. That's triple the savings of syllables.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like yeah, corporate speak. It's the acronyms, it's the bandwidth instead of saying I don't have time
Yeah.
or I have too much on my plate,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is
I don't have the
fine.
capacity. That's a fun one. Do you have any capacity to help out this person? Like,
Wait, people ask that.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Not
Jesus
so
Christ.
much now at this my new job, but on my last job, that was a big one. Like, do you have any capacity to do this or that? Can you
I
find
mean,
out if
I'm
this
not
person
selling
has
tickets to an
capacity?
event. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, do you want to know if they have time? Hey, do you have time to do this? Oh, I don't have the capacity to do that right now. That's funny because it's not what I asked. I asked if you had the time.
One of my favorite, I sent it to you and Jones like probably a long time ago, and it was just like I was in a Teams or a fucking whatever meeting. It was like, and I said time instead of bandwidth, and the CEO took me in my office and shot me in the leg. I think of that every time someone says bandwidth.
Yeah.
It's like you're not a fucking internet modem. Shut the fuck up.
Oh man, it takes up so much bandwidth just doing that. It's like that. No, nope, nope. You don't operate on bandwidth. Your computer does. You're a
Yeah.
human. Yeah, people are annoying and dumb and
Oh,
stupid.
that's the thing is it's just late. It's a young thing because obviously like we definitely used to say like either dumb shit or try to use acronyms or abbreviations and
Yeah, it's just also funny to do that in a professional setting because like I said, come to find out, like
These
I
people don't
talked to
know.
like
These people don't know the difference.
three
That's
people in the meeting separately too. It wasn't like a one group text. It was like three different people that were also in the meeting that were like, what the fuck just happened?
yeah. I mean, if it's someone young, they don't know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, I got one more here. Do you have anything? Or do you want me to? I didn't know if you had any hot button items.
Nope,
Right,
I
that's
got
that's
nothing.
another that's another corporate speak. Oh, we got any hot button items? Um, what's hot
Yeah.
on the agenda? Um, so Amy and I got a new mattress last week. So we had when we redid the house, we got a sleep number bed because the so the biggest thing there is I like a firm bed, right? And obviously, Amy does not. She prefers softer beds. So it makes it pretty difficult when you're trying to pick out a mattress, right? When one person likes to sleep on a rock, and the other person likes to sleep on, cushions, whatever. So we ended up getting the sleep number years ago, right? A few years ago when we redid the house and all that stuff. So we got brand new mattress, all that stuff. Come to find out, we don't really like the sleep number. It wasn't like, I mean, it was fine, right? It allowed us to both have whatever we needed, right? Like I literally had my setting on 100. Like I cranked
Why
my
don't you just
shit.
sleep on the fucking floor?
I might as well.
You could have just bought a soft mattress and put a piece of plywood on your side.
It should have, yeah. Um, sleep like fuck, who's the running back for Josh Jacobs?
Or like in Seinfeld, the lumbar yard.
Yeah. Um, so I don't know. I think Amy had hers at like 50 or 60 or whatever her setting was at. But my setting
I
was
also have no
literally at
frame of
100.
reference. I've never done the sleep number stuff.
Yeah, I mean they're fine, right? Like it is what it is. It's
I mean,
fine.
they're still
But
around, so they're
yeah.
still around for some reason.
So effectively, right? Well, actually, I'll get to that afterwards. So we over time decided we didn't really like it because it's it's not very good at like I forget what they call it in the mattress industry, but I think it's like movement isolation or something like that. So like basically if you move, like the whole fucking bed moves, right? Like if Pickett moves because she sleeps on the bed with us, like the whole fucking bed shakes. Like we're just like it's not worth it, right? Like over time we're like I'm not sleeping, you're not sleeping, Pickett jumps on the bed, off the bed, like the whole fucking thing. She shifts, right? Or Amy rolls over and I wake up, or I roll over and she wakes up because the bed's constantly moving, right? So I'm like, all right, let's maybe look into a new mattress. So we ended up getting a Nectar mattress, which shout out to Nectar, by the way, not a sponsor of the show, but they could be. Um, we decided there's a furniture store like 5 minutes from our house, so we went there and we tested out a bunch of different mattresses. Um, I liked a couple from Purple, and then there was the one from Nectar. We both really liked Tempur-Pedic, but then we looked at the price tags on Tempur-Pedics and we were like, yeah, that's fine. We can go with these other ones. It's like $4,000 plus for a Tempur-Pedic. Um, so we go and I'm like, all right, cool. Let me just look online at this. At the furniture store, the Nectar that we got, I think was like 14 or 1500 bucks. From the actual website itself was $650. So I was like, yeah, we'll just buy it from the fucking website. It's literally half the price. So we did that. We got it. It comes in, right? It comes in a box. So it gets shipped in a box. So you gotta open it and then cut the bag and let it kind of like expand. It's a memory foam mattress. Um, so then I go, oh, I gotta get rid of this, sleep number. So I go and I unplug it from the wall because you have to plug it in, right? Because it has a pump that needs to pump air and change whatever and monitor like the the whatever setting is. So I unplug it and I go to take the hoses out and I flip it over and I unzip the bottom and I go, you've got to be fucking shitting me. It's literally two air mattresses. That's all it is. That's inside of a Sleep Number. So there's like probably a 2 inch foam perimeter that goes around the edge of the mattress, right? To like make so you don't fall off the air mattress, like give you a little bit of foam support there. And then there's maybe an inch and a half of foam on the top that covers over the air mattress. And then inside is two like twin sized air mattresses or smaller, right? Because I think two twins is a king or two fulls is a king. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. But inside of this thing, when you unzip the cover, there's two small air mattresses. That's it. And like nothing special, not like a special like multi-chamber thing with some other like springs or no, nothing. It's literally like I pulled the hoses out and I deflated them and I pulled them out and it's literally just an air mattress. So I looked it up. We didn't pay that. I forget. I feel like we paid like 12 or 1300 bucks for it, when this was probably like 3 or 4 years ago. Um, but right now, the same mattress that we have is on Sleep Number for like almost 2 grand. So you're paying $2,000 for a glorified air mattress, which I think is absurd. Like I again, we this was a few years ago when we bought it and it was cheaper. It might have also been during like a Labor Day sale. Um, because we finished up the house in November, I think, of 21. So we did a lot of buying of stuff throughout the summer and then the fall just to have it and get it delivered later. But like I said, I feel like we probably only spent like 1,200 bucks, maybe 1,300 after tax or whatever. Um, but I would never spend $2,000 on an air mattress because that's all it is.
Oh, it's a Sleep Number. It's a whole system.
Yeah, it is a whole system.
The organization of.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I'd never really crossed my mind how it worked, right? Until I went to like get rid of it. And I was like, holy shit, that's insane. It's just a hose into a pump that goes into an air mattress. So,
Or, you know,
yeah. But the new mattress is pretty great. Um, it's basically like a Tempur-Pedic, but a fraction of the price. Um, got to figure out the temperature thing. I may need to look into like a cooling mattress cover or something like that. It's only been a couple nights, but I feel like every night I've woken up like extremely hot, like overheating. I'm a hot sleeper anyway. Um, so I think that like a dense foam mattress probably doesn't help with keeping you cool.
you would think no.
Yeah, probably not. But the mattress itself is great. Like I said, shout out to Nectar. They're awesome. If you ever need a new mattress, they're cheap and they make a good product. And they
I like
have
it better. I like it better my way, where I couldn't even tell you what type of mattress is in there.
yeah. I used to not know. The mattress that's in the spare bedroom is the one that I've had since I was in grad school. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know what it was before being here either.
Yeah. So, all right. You want to wrap this up?
We can wrap this up. So this weekend I attempted to teach Leo how to dog, and can't say it went remarkably well, but it's like just one of those things. Like my yard isn't fenced in, so it's like obviously there's battles there. Like if he's just gonna be a free range, like there's no barriers.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like would like for him to have a little bit of freedom out there, but I mean I'm not working with a lot either. And my yard runs right into my neighbor's yard, which he said, he goes, I don't give a fuck. He goes, come use the basketball court, let him run around in my yard. He goes, I don't care. Like, it's not about that. It's about if I let him run in your yard, where does he go after that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got like I think it's like a 30-foot lead. Um, that combination of like holding and dropping, because like I didn't have him attached because he knows when he's attached to something. So just kind of like throwing the ball, doesn't see it, run after the ball, maybe.
Yeah.
And then like when he did kind of like recognize that he had some freedom, just started sprinting absolute circles. So of course I step on his lead. Now he's running circles. So what do you think? What do you think is about to happen?
Yeah. He's gonna get strung up.
No, I'm gonna get strung up.
Oh yeah.
So I have my foot on the lead. I sit down so that I can grab it. And then it's like, he probably got, I don't know, 2 laps around my like shins and I've got the lead, and then he just like absolutely just like bombards himself because he got stuck. It's like, dude, we have failed catch, we have failed roam the yard like a fucking normal person or a normal dog. Um, I don't exactly know how this is gonna go.
But if you guys got one of those like high up leads, right? Like if you have a tension line
Zip line it.
from yeah, yeah, and then just have it hang down. That's what we used to have before we had a fence
Yep,
here.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Um, you just gotta check what my other anchor point is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got one high enough. Maybe.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing too, though, is he's 3 and he's never known like that level or type of freedom.
Yeah.
So can always just go back to that.
True.
But yeah, it was more like, yeah, so I don't exactly know what our solution's going to be, but I also did 100% notice that like simple dog activities weren't really like working out for us.
Got to teach him how to dog.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like he's the dog, not me. So it's
True.
like, bro, run after this ball and like bring it back. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, go fetch.
Like he gets the ball, takes like one step towards me, like throws it out of his mouth, and is like, "You get it, peasant."
Yeah, you fetch now.
Yeah, you fetch, and then I'll go get it, and maybe I'll bring it back to you. Probably not though. We'll see though. He's getting groomed tomorrow, so maybe he just can't see. That could be another thing too.
That could also be a thing too. Yeah. Yeah. Seeing helps sometimes.
Yeah, but the dog lessons not off to a strong start.
You got to keep working on it.
Yeah, we'll see. But then like this is the other thing too. It's like I'll have him probably down, and then like Bill will be home, and he'll fucking sprint over to Bill. Like
Yeah.
that's the type of shit we're
Yeah.
risking. Because dude, so I've walked by Bill's house like a handful of times because like it's on the loop.
Right.
Every time now he tries to go into the garage. Whether Bill's there, the garage is shut, the cars are there, nothing. Like
Yeah.
he's always looking like, oh, my friends are here. It's like,
Yeah.
no, dude,
Yeah. Oh, I know this garage.
the door's shut.
No one's home.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. My final thought is we've been watching Agatha Harkness on Disney Plus. It's actually over now. We finished it the other day. Um, overall, pretty good. Um, it's one of those where, Disney kind of has been hovering back and forth on making some good stuff and making some shitty stuff. Um, this one was pretty good. I liked it. Um, there was it had a little bit of everything. It had some comedy, some drama. It had a couple twists in there that you weren't really expecting. It like set you up for one thinking it was one thing, and then they kind of pull the rug out. So, um, pretty good. Pretty good. So I will tip the cap to Disney. Um, they did something good with the Agatha series. Um, because they needed something. They needed a win because they haven't had many lately.
And I think they came out and said that this one was going to be a one-off or
I
like a
think so.
standalone. It's a standalone thing.
Yeah. Yeah, in classic Disney fashion though, the way it ended kind of like if they wanted to, they could probably put out a second season. They shouldn't. They should just leave it alone. But it's Disney and they can't fucking help themselves.
Yeah, I
So
think though lately they've had to like somewhat learn
yeah,
how to fucking help themselves because
yeah.
it's
I mean, they've
hasn't
ruined
been
Star
great.
Wars. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
I
even a
mean,
big Star Wars guy, but I mean that's just what everyone says is because now there's like a new series for everything and none of them are all that good.
that's the thing is like I stopped watching The Mandalorian. I didn't get into like the next thing. It's just too much now.
Yeah, it's too much. But Agatha's good. So now all whatever 8 or 9 episodes are out too. So you can watch them all at once or not, whatever. But um, yeah, like I said, it's a good series. They did something good finally. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe up above, hit the thumbs up down below. If you're an audio only guy, subscribe there as well, and leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. The website is sarcasmspeaks.com. Check out the show notes below. Support the sponsors, support us. And until next time, good night, everybody.